recognizing that feeling of I'm in control. It doesn't matter who's on the mound. I'm feeling confident. That is a good feeling. And that's what you do so much work for, not only just in the off season, but every single day in the cage and the weight room is for those feelings.
And is that what are you wearing, Coach Chop?
This here, thank you for asking. This is an unused 2020 All-Star Game, little like lightweight coat. That game was canceled, but they still had the gear, so they gave it out to Dodger staff.
And that game was canceled because of something.
That'd be COVID.
Golly,
got him.
That guy. Wow. Well, it looks sharp. And is the 2021 All-Star Game going to be at Dodger Stadium?
The 2021 All-Star Game took place. This last year.
So this is 2020, right? Golly, where am I? Who am
2020, I? 2022 will be at Dodger Stadium. 21 was in Colorado, right? Yeah.
Good thing I started drinking coffee again. Not sure if I let you know, but I have now gone from 3 big cups of coffee a day to matcha green tea to 1 12-ounce cup of coffee per day.
Okay.
Pretty good way of
moderation
going about it. So you parents out there that are trying to wean off a little bit of the coffee, try that route. Try a little bit of the matcha to wean yourself off, and it's been good. I'm dialed in. Hey, here we are. We're Coach Ballgame and Coach Chop on the TALKIN Chop podcast, and today is the first guest that I'm bringing in. You've been carrying the piano, and this week I've got my man Adam Kennedy, who I'll give a formal introduction when he shows up in about 15 minutes or so. But as soon as I say that name, Adam Kennedy, what comes to mind for you?
Man, he's one of those guys that, for me, like, huge Angel fan growing up. And he was like the launch angle before the launch angle, I feel like. You know what I mean? He had that like slight uppercut swing. And I loved his swing. But like back in that day, it was like unorthodox swing. Now, shoot, everybody has a very similar swing. And I'll never forget in the ALCS him hitting 3 homers. I mean, huge home runs. Grinder.
I went back and watched that game. The YouTube highlights. Kids, parents, go back and watch it. 2002 ALCS against the Twins, and Angel Stadium's just going hog wild nuts. He hits 3 bombs. The guy was a phenom in college, Cal State Northridge. I went down a little rabbit hole since he's my guest. The guy led the nation in hits his sophomore year. And then he backs that up by leading the nation in hits his junior year.
Amazing.
2 years in a row, most hits. That's kind of hard to do. School record and so many things. But yeah, that 2002 season, that's the first and only for the Angels, if my recollection is there, and they win a World Series. So a really great guy. I've gotten to know him a little bit, got to meet him in Tustin because he's a local guy here in Orange County. He's a dad. He coaches now that his playing days are over. So excited to chat with another World Series champ. We had Doc Roberts, which just dropped today, and it's out there on the Spotify and the Apple and the YouTube and the Google. Please, folks, do your rating, 5 stars, and subscribe and leave us a nice little tasty review too. That always helps us as we try and work our way up the charts on these baseball podcasts. But you listened to it this morning. You had some quotes. What do you got?
I did. An amazing, folks, please check that one out. And I know you will, but just a few that hit me pretty hard, of just like, I wrote them down there. I have this big old whiteboard above in our little home office here, and these might not ever leave the whiteboard. But one was lead with enthusiasm and love. Love that. Be relentlessly positive was another quote. He talked about how his mom taught him how to give good eye contact, a good handshake, and respect. Right. And the last one here, there's a few other ones, but one he said is just be present. Like as coaches, as parents, as kids, as teachers, like be present. Like the kid's going to know if you're not present. And we know as coaches when the kids aren't present, right? So I mean, golly, what a great interview that was. What a great man. Dave
So
Roberts.
great. And yeah, if you can watch it on the YouTube link as well, just to see his enthusiasm and to see how present he is and how memorable that is to just be present. And you notice it right away, but you never really forget it when you meet somebody that's just dialed in to you and interested in you. And what a tutorial for me, a guy that can space out and think about 18 different things at once. And I'm writing a song while I'm staring at a bird. And I mean, while I'm trying to have a conversation at the same time, like, no, drop the baggage and just throw some eye contact somebody's way and ask them what they had for breakfast, or what do they love to do? And he did that over Zoom, and he brought a lot of joy to me, just talking to him, having a conversation. And yeah, that eye contact comment from his mom, that stuck with me. Like, that's what I'm trying to teach every kid that I coach. Give that uncomfortable, quiet eye contact.
Yeah. And then you double that up with, we haven't dropped Mookie yet, but Mookie talked about how he treats people like you just never know what other folks are going through. Right. So having that ability to really give the other person that you're interacting with the spotlight or the microphone, or caring what they have to say or what they're going through can change the person that you're interacting with. It's really cool.
No doubt about it. And when you've got a manager, his resume speaks for himself, that's preaching that, I mean, you're going to buy in. Yeah, I mean, if you're a player, you're going to buy in. If you're a fan, you're going to buy in. And I think there's a lot of parents and coaches that will listen to that podcast and maybe just take a look in the mirror and say, am I doing that? Am I treating everybody the same way? I love how he pinpointed meeting each person on their own playing field, whether that's the janitor or the third baseman or the new guy or the veteran, like just meeting each of them wherever they're at and their own personality, and being willing to have tough conversations if need be, but not in front of everybody else. I asked him about challenging players that aren't giving effort. And he said, that's a tough one, but it's about meeting them on their playing field, and nobody wants to be shamed in front of everybody else. And I saw that firsthand. I've seen that by coaches that I've had in the past that obviously I don't ever think it's blatant, but it's just, I think this equation of something's going wrong with a player or a spouse or your kid, and equating that to your own failures. And that brings out this anxiety and anger. And he really tapped into that of how, he learned that. It was a learned process, making mistakes as a coach, and then realizing, wait, I am projecting my own insecurities in this situation on this other person. So just a super, super cool interview. I've got another topic to hit on, but anything you had to close up the doc?
Yeah, I'll close that up with something that I've learned as a coach is praise should be heard, right? So as a coach, if we're ever going to raise our voice, make sure we're raising our voice to praise a kid or to lift him up or to make sure his teammates hear what a great job he just did. And if you need to be constructively, criticized a little bit, that should be done one-on-one, because the kid's already going to be, and even as coaches, like we talk about, like, hey, start with a positive comment, then say what you need to say to help them grow, and then finish with a positive comment. Still try to do that one-on-one if possible, calmly, showing that calm, relaxed body language. But praise should be heard by everyone. And when we need to come in there and instruct or correct, do it in a positive way, but do it quietly and do it just one-on-one, so that kid is not on his heels or defensive.
100%. Beautifully put. it's kind of in that same line of thinking. But I've had this in the past, had it this past week in our first week of winter sandlot. A lot of new faces, a lot of new kids coming out to my sandlots, which I love. And the fact that that word's getting out, it fires me up so much that people are running to this rundown sandlot field because of a message, and because there's coaches that are positive and joyful. But there's always issues that come up when you're managing 30 kids and 30 sets of parents. And there are occasions when, especially in the first week, everybody's a little confused. Where do I go? What do I do? Who are these people? And kids can get a little fearful, especially at a very young age, and bashful. But had a parent that just kind of stopped everything and stopped every coach from what they were doing to kind of speak their piece, that they were just unhappy with the greeting. There was not a greeter there to greet them and say, hello, how are you? And I'm in a time now where I have about 2 hours to coach about 80 kids. So there's a lot of overlapping going on. I'm coaching one group, another coach is coaching another group, another coach is getting ready for the next group. So it's not a perfect science. We try to make everything as welcoming as possible, but you have unhappy parents, and I get every now and again, and it really gets to me when I get an unhappy email. It's not much, thank goodness, and we learn from it. But I think the topic I really want to discuss is just managing parents' expectations. And I think it's a bit of an obstacle that gets in the way of a lot of youth coaches. And it's why a lot of youth coaches don't want to coach, is, oh, I don't want to deal with all these different parents. And what I had to do in that situation, I had 30 kids in a team meeting pose ready for me. I had an unhappy parent, and I had to kind of manage that the best I could. I got the team going with another coach, and I was able to kind of run down the parent and explain, hey, everything's a hot mess. This is the first week. Nobody knows what to do. How can we fix this? We did. We fixed it. We had a makeup sesh, and the kid had a great time, and the parent was very happy. But have you run into that where there's just unhappiness or unease within parents about whether it's playing time or just the vibe you're giving out? What advice do you have for me and those coaches out there when you run into conflict like that?
Yeah, I've had it. And yeah, it's maybe we'll touch on that after, because I think our guest is here.
Nice.
So let's talk on that. We're teasing that.
We're teasing that one because all you parents, you're going to want that. I see him. There he is. And I get to do the formal introduction this time because this is my guest. And he was born in Riverside, California, folks. He went to Cal State Northridge, the Matadors. Did you know that, Coach Chopper?
I did.
Matadors led the nation in hits, folks. His sophomore and junior year. That's the nation. That's like the United States of America, if I learned that correctly at Brown University. Holds the school record in pretty much everything except for the number of nose hairs total. He does not have that one. ALCS MVP in 2002, World Series champion that same year, number 2 in your program, number 1 in your hearts. And his name's Adam Kennedy. Man, thanks for coming on. How you doing?
Oh, Coach, thanks for having me, man. A privilege to join you guys.
Awesome. We got to meet at Tustin Sports Park down the road, and you had your boy with you, and you were about to play some catch and work with him and his friend. And I've gotten to meet you a little bit over the social media and just see what you're about, and then kind of be able to go back and watch these videos of your past and just see what kind of a grinder and gamer you really were. It's just been enjoyable for me the last 24 hours to do a little homework on you. So awesome. Thanks for joining us. Well, the way we do it is I throw it to Coach Chop. He'll ask the first question, and then we'll kind of go back and forth. So
yeah, man, looking
Chopper.
forward to it.
Yeah.
Hey, Adam, what's up, man? Great to meet you. Actually got to work out with your brother Brian when I was playing pro ball, so it's cool to meet you. And yeah, I grew up a huge Angel fan, so it's pretty special.
Where did you play your college ball?
I went to Tustin High School, and then I played at San Diego State.
Okay.
And then and then transferred to Vanguard University and got drafted out of there. So cool to meet you.
Did you play for Tony Gwynn? Did you play for Tony?
No, I played for Jim Dietz, and Tony's
still there. Yeah.
And Tony's son came out for a recruiting trip, and then I ended up transferring out. Good move. I met my wife there, so it was a good move to transfer out. So, hey, the question I have for you, the first question is, what is your favorite thing about baseball?
Oh my gosh, I love all sports, right? I think every sport has its specialty or brings something different to the table. Mine is kind of it kind of combines all sports athleticism combined into one, and then you match that with a lot of downtime, which in that downtime you got to be a good teammate. You have to keep your mind sharp. You have to it's a thinking man's game, but at the same time, trying to still be an athlete. So it kind of combines all the sports into one, as well as using your mind and not letting your mind get the best of you at times because of that downtime is always a challenge. You see it all across the board with the yips. Guys get the yips. A lot of that is because there's some downtime and you think about it and what am I going to do if it happens again. So there's a lot of reasons I love baseball. It's probably an endless list, but the combination of using your athleticism across the board and having a strong mind are probably at the top of the list.
I love that. And as a youth coach, talking to kids, and a lot of times you hear like, oh, well, baseball is boring, right? And it's cool to be able to say like, hey, I understand that thought, but once you really get to know this game and all the intricacies, and there's always somewhere to be on every play, that's where the beauty comes into this game. So I love that answer. That's very well said. It's so true. It's why as coaches, we say, hey, don't miss a pitch that's thrown. There's always something you can see about maybe how the pitcher's attacking you or just different things. That's a great answer. Coach Ballgame.
Man, downtime. That's interesting. I haven't thought about that in a while. Just all the downtime there is. There's a good hour between at bats, and what's your advice to that kid that's 0 for 2 strikeouts, it's fifth inning, and they got to go to right field. What's your advice to that kid in that hour of downtime before at bat number 3?
Sure. As I'm coaching youth and learning from the kids, I'm still learning every day. And the more you coach, the more you learn because every kid is different. So you try to take something from them. They think you're coaching them, but it goes both ways. My youngest son, James, the one you saw me with on the field, he is, and it didn't come from me because I'm a little more quiet during the games as a player, but he really has showed me he's like the epitome of a good teammate. He's always cheering his guys on, and he's always talking about something. So I would say during that downtime, yes, create another relationship with another player, root them on, ask questions. But yeah, anything but just kind of sitting there and rethinking. That was kind of one of as I got to the big leagues and you struggle, that's probably one of the things that I didn't do great at is kind of getting away from your own thoughts. So I love seeing the kids kind of just root each other on, cheering for each other, just in the interaction in the dugout, interaction on the field is super important.
That's great. No, I love that. I love meeting your son. It just seemed like a real, like the heartbeat of a team. You've got a very joyful guy and his presence was happy. And yeah, I think we learn from our mistakes as players and then we can use those in our coaching. But when you can just put your emphasis in and put all of your heart into your teammates, you do forget about some of those slumps and some of those yips. I mean, that is a crazy word that you can think of. And, I've tried to coach kids out of those yips. They can't throw the ball to second base if they're a catcher or something like that. And we just try to throw thoughts more into a positive place and a different place. So think about your legs. What are your legs doing while you make that throw? And, when you're 0 for 24, what is your voice doing for this team? How can you cheer for them and make them better? So love that. My first question to everybody I ever meet is, what's your nickname? So maybe this goes back to when you were a kid or even into pro ball. Do you have a nickname, and how'd you get it?
Sure. I have three pretty cool nicknames. Really only one is used pretty much by everybody, and that'd just be AK. But growing up, I got a cool nickname from one of my first coaches, a neighborhood dad, and I had a lot of freckles when I was a kid, so he gave me Dotsy. So Dotsy stuck with me for a while throughout my whole youth, probably till about high school. And then as I got into pro ball, using the AK kind of route, one of my teammates slapped Gunner on me. So Gunner, the AK-47 type playoff. So Gunner was a cool one I like. So those three nicknames were kind of significant throughout my life. Nicknames are cool. I know, and I know you're big with them, and I think it's an awesome thing.
Yeah, no, it's the first thing I do. And does your son or sons have nicknames too?
Yeah. My little one, his nickname is Bubba.
Nice.
He was a little thick as a baby, so we kind of went with that right out of the chute. He's slendered out since, but we kind of stuck with that one for him for now.
I love it. Well, I mean, yeah, it's synonymous with baseball. It's like, oh, people just they say attaboy, and they call people by nicknames.
Sure.
It's just the way it goes. And I think it kind of speaks to that relaxed or that need to be relaxed at a baseball game, with all that downtime we talk about. But there's chewing, there's spitting, there's attaboys, and there's nicknames. And I think all of that just speaks to the vibe of baseball, which is, this is a fun, relaxed game. Let's enjoy this time here. And I know it can get off kilter. We talked to Javier Lopez about this a few weeks ago, where youth sports can get off kilter and it becomes a little too aggressive, too much about the win. I'll throw my second question at you and then send it back to Chopper. Have you seen that? I call it an epidemic of just aggression, win at all costs kind of nature within sports, especially at the elite level. And what's your take on it?
Yeah, so I was raised by a coach, raised around coaches. So I by some great coaches in Riverside and throughout the minor leagues and in college. So I've been fortunate to learn a lot from everybody, but it's different when you're the coach, so right when I stopped playing, I went directly into coaching travel ball. So kind of just into the teeth of everything. So right away you get that sense of win at all costs from the other side, and you start to question, is that the route to go? But better. So you're always fighting that at the beginning as a new coach. I was anyways. And then you realize there's definitely ways to do both, because you do want to create a sense of these games matter and how to win and the importance of winning for the team and all these things, right? But underneath that, there's so many things to teach during the game, win or lose. So yes, it's such a fine line. The travel ball world in baseball is I love it, but you got to be careful, because there are so many coaches out there that are a win at all cost, scenario, and it's fun to beat those coaches because they get frustrated, and at the end of the day, you're doing the best for your kids, and teaching them a little bit more than just winning. So it is a fine line, but at the end of the day, as long as they're learning something, and whether they're crying or laughing at the end of the game, hopefully they got a little something out of the game that they could take to tomorrow.
Great. Chopper, you're well more versed on the travel ball culture than me. What do you say to that?
I love that. And I coach 3 or 4 club teams, and I'm the head coach at a high school out here too. So the thing that we brought up, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, was win the heart at all costs, right? As a coach. So you got to win that player's heart at all costs. That might cost you a game, and that day it might cost you your ego a little bit, because being a competitor, you're trying to win. But if there's a moment where you got to choose between a kid's heart and winning a ball game, as a coach, take the heart, and know that that's really the priority, because at the end of the day, these kids that are going to move up in this game, they're going to move up with or without us as coaches. Their passion is going to drive them, but where's their heart? Because you still got to be a good person on and off the field and be a great teammate, and that'll drive them once they get higher in baseball. So I love that. The question I have for you is, who is on your teammate Mount Rushmore? And I did research. That's 4 faces or 4 teammates.
Yeah. So pretty significant roles in my professional career, at those top 4. Number 1 would be, or no order, but one would be Joe McEwing, who is the third base coach now for the Chicago White Sox. Super Joe, he got famous for with the Cardinals and the Mets. He kind of was one of the first teammates I ever met going into pro ball, and he was a veteran minor leaguer. I think he had spent at this point about 10 years in the minor leagues, and was just a grinder and kind of showed me the ropes. And so he was a huge influence in my getting started professional career. And then as I got to into the big leagues, Darren Erstad, 100% had a huge influence. I got my locker put next to him right when I got to Anaheim, and that is an intense individual, and he made me feel in a good way, if I better be prepared to play every single day at a high level. So that was great. The other would be Troy Percival, who was kind of our leader in the clubhouse in Anaheim, brought everybody together, and both from Riverside, so we had that connection. And then I think the other would be Brendan Donnelly, reliever with the Angels, kind of a lifer. Had a different path to the big leagues. He actually crossed the line in the strike in '94. I believe. No, yeah, it'd been '94.
Mm-hmm.
So he had a quite a life, a different path than I did, and it was always interesting to me. And we became very close. So those are my 4 guys at the top.
That's a great Mount Rushmore. And as an Angel fan growing up, you talk about Ersty, Percival, and Brendan Donnelly was a stud. Sure. Coming out of the pen and just putting out fires. Righty, sure. Got the glasses. Awesome. That's a great answer. Coach Ballgame.
Yeah. Speaking of the Angels, I mean, I'm sure you get asked this more than anything else. That 2002 season with the Angels, World Series champs, first and only for the Angels, and hitting 3 bombs in the ALCS, winning the MVP in the ALCS that season. I want to unpack this thing that hitters get into sometimes, of just being locked in. That was obviously a game against the Twins where you were locked in, 3 bombs. You had 8 ribbies, I believe, as a rookie, 1 game against the Blue Jays. And you're obviously locked in pretty much every day of the week in college. Can you, I guess the way I'll ask it is, can you unpack the moments of being locked in? What does it feel like? What are the days like leading into the game? What does that mean to be locked in?
Sure. I mean, it's the same stuff you kind of hear all the time, right? Things have slowed down. Everything looks like a beach ball, but for me, I would say just the speed of it, right, and being in control of your body, the timing of everything is just you're not searching for it, right? We spend a lot of time searching for the feeling, and then when you get it, you you get it so little, right? You know the feeling when you get it, and it's amazing. You want to hold on to it, especially in the big league level, because Roger Clemens is coming on the mound Friday night, and on Saturday night, Pedro Martinez is coming. So the feeling could get taken away from you really quickly if you're not appreciating it and recognizing it. So really recognizing that feeling of I'm in control. It doesn't matter who's on the mound. I'm feeling confident. That is good feeling, and that's what you do so much work for, not only just in the off season, but every single day in the cage and the weight room is for those feelings. So it's an amazing place to be. Yeah, as you can see, it puts a smile on my face to think about those times, because it's a few and far between, but it's a great moment.
Yeah, we talked to Mookie Betts a few weeks ago about your breath and breathing, and in those moments, just kind of focusing on your breathing. I think your mind is trained for some reason, I don't know why, to always kind of maybe go 60-40 negative to positive. So you're always kind of waiting for the other shoe to fall. But if you can just focus on your breath, then maybe those locked in moments kind of get a little bit longer and longer, and you can stay there. But speaking of guys that that got you out of being locked in, who were some of the toughest you had to face that it was not an enjoyable at bat?
Sure. I would say, the two that always come to mind right away. Mariano Rivera, first of all, I think I think it was like 2 for 21 off of him. So it's going to be a tough battle there. And then going to Oakland when they had the big three, the Moneyball era, which they kind of forgot to talk about their best three pitchers on earth during that movie, and Hudson, Zito, and Mulder. That was a tough road trip, and out of those three, I would say Mark Mulder for me was a really tough go. A left-handed little two-seamer and a split finger. So he was a really, really tough matchup for me. But that's the fun about the big leagues is challenging yourself, and there's always a new challenge each night. And the one thing I succeeded in college so much. You talked a little bit about my college career. And one thing I continue to do so in the big leagues was, and it kind of relays to today as a coach, you hear a lot of players say, this guy throws too slow for me. Well, A-Rod didn't hit 600, how many home runs he has off of Bartolo Colon or Mariano Rivera, right? The best hitters, I have always believed, take advantage of not the best pitchers around, right? So in college, I really was able to take advantage of that level of pitching and really, really dominated it, which created me confidence, success for the next level. And the next level, I continue that too, right? You're gonna take your battles against Pedro Martinez, and you're gonna go 2 for 21 off Mariano Rivera, but it's those other at bats that you really have to still give your 100% attention to, because that's where you're gonna make it or break it. And it is so when I hear these younger kids say that excuse of I only hit tough fast pitching, or well, that's not how you're gonna make your living, and that's not gonna work. Let's concentrate every at bat. Let's get the hits when we're supposed to get the hits, and every at bat is important. Like you talked about, James, you only have one at bat an hour. Why can't we give 100% of our attention for that one time per hour?
Good. Yeah. I mean, I tell the kids all the time, it's easy to make an excuse. It's about as easy to do that as it is to be mean to somebody. But it's not the awesome choice. It's not the productive choice. And I heard my pal Nick Punto say, you've got the 5 tools, but there's a 6th tool, and it's character. And that character, that guy that can make those good choices with the 5 tools, that's a big leaguer. So I saw you laughing about that, Chopper. Sounds like you've had some experience with that.
Man, these kids these days, God bless them. But yeah, they talk about when a kid's not throwing hard, like they can't hit it. It's below the hitting speed. And I said, when we were a kid, that was called meat. You know what I mean? Like that was like, give me a bat. I'll get up in the box. I'll get on the dish. And that's where we make our money. I agree with AK. Like you don't make your money off the 1 and 2. Like, you grind off them. You maybe draw a walk, maybe a sack fly, have the least amount of bats as possible, right? If you get a 1 for 3 with a walk, what a life. That's a great day. You're making your money off the 4 and 5, right? And when you get into the bullpen, although not as much today with all the, specialty pitchers, but yeah, that's man, don't make an excuse, go up there and be awesome. And something I want to touch on we talked about getting in the zone, right? Or having those moments where it feels easy. To me, I think there's so much power in learning the skill of getting into the moment, right? Like there's greatness in the moment. So whatever your failures were an hour ago, like take a deep breath and try to win that moment. You swing and just miss a pitch, or the umpire makes a bad call. Hey, take a deep breath and win the moment. And as coaches, if we can teach our kids at this young age how to take a breath and get back into the moment, man, we've given them a tool that's going to help them no matter how far they go in the game and really in life. The next question I have for you, AK, is what makes a good teammate?
Sure. Someone, I would say the top of that list is someone that you can count on to be there, right? Like someone is going to be there, shows up every day, and both physically and emotionally, right? We're all gonna struggle and go for 4, and that's irrelevant. But is my catch partner there for me every day, right? Is my support staff there for me every day? Can I count on them to get me through the day if I need somebody that kind of push me through, or just to be present, always there physically and support and emotionally, and kind of just someone you can count on around. I think that's huge.
A big quote that we put on the whiteboard from Doc a couple weeks ago that we dropped this morning was be present, right? And that's huge. And by being present, what that means a lot of times is if I'm your teammate, I'm not worried about my strikeout, right? Like I'm mindful of like, okay, AK's coming up. Like I might've swung through the curveball, but maybe I can tell AK, hey dude, this curveball's got a little more depth than it looks like. You know what I mean? Try to see that sucker up. So being a good teammate is getting off of yourself and being that servant leader that we're talking about. Great response, Coach Ballgame.
Yep. Thinking big picture. That's good. Something I wanted to tap into was this kind of upside down parabola that if you're super talented and if you're fortunate enough to not get injured too quickly, you have this climb to the top, and then you make it and you're there. And then unless you're Tom Brady, father time hits you, and there's a decline. For me, I peaked out in college, and then I didn't get drafted, so I went to independent ball and then slow pitch softball in Bennett, North Carolina, and then I moved on to coaching. Yours was much longer, 13-year pro career, but then it's just the way it goes with Willie Mays or Babe Ruth or anybody. You have this downward trend to the parabola. What's harder? Is it harder to climb up that thing and get there, or when you start to realize, man, I'm grinding here, I'm trying to finish? Because I think there's a lot of former pros out there that struggle with both, obviously. Peel back the curtain a little bit for me on those climb and drops.
Sure. The climb is the climb for me was tremendously, I was in it. I loved baseball. I was super focused on each day, a bit selfish, in those regards, but I think that's a necessity at any profession that you're climbing, is to have a little bit of, how can I be selfish but not be an asshole, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of a fine line there, because do have to watch out for yourself and create a bit of what's best for me when you're on the climb. So I really enjoyed that. People talk about, when did you think you were going to get to the big leagues? Literally, probably a week before I got to the big leagues. It was, I'm in single A. Let me just get a couple hits today, and they'll notice, and I'll get a couple hits tomorrow, and they'll notice, and then you're on double A. Same thing. So I was really good at that in the moment, and just being there, being present today. Here, I'm here, and then step by step, you're there. So that for me was fun. I loved it. There wasn't a day in the minor leagues I wanted to go home. I was in it, and I think that's a really important, especially nowadays with these minor leaguers that I work with, or they lack that a little bit. And I don't know if it's just how they were, they're given a little bit more nowadays growing up through the perfect game, and in the high school, they're travel ball. So it's a little different, but being a little selfish and present each day to get up that mountain. The hard part for me was, yes, you get your peak and you kind of hang there for a minute. Guys like me hang there for a minute, and then boom, Trout hangs there for a little longer. So for my minute, it's fun and you feel great physically. You're amazing, and that's half the battle, right? How can I be my physical peak? And then boom, you have an injury, or or just Father Time comes a calling, and it's like your nails are scratching to keep you up, but you're just coming down a little bit. And for someone like me, who part of my game was quickness and speed, as far as when you start to lose that, you just don't become quite the ball player you were. But it's not a bad thing. You've made it, right, and you've done the best you could do, until Father Time just comes along and kind of takes you down a tiny bit. But you can still do other things. You be a good teammate. You learn to do it. Play. Used to be a everyday shortstop or middle infielder. Now you're a utility guy. Just try to, you kind of change with the times, and whatever may be beneficial for you to keep on going. But the climb was fun. The decline is sad and frustrating, but you understand that that's just life, man. And you kind of enjoy, as long as you were kind of giving it your best shot while you were there. There's really no regret.
And the idea we've been talking about, it's kind of been the thread through this whole conversation, is just getting outside yourself and being able to think of your teammates more than yourself. When that Father Time is creeping in, if you can help that Mike Trout learn how to hit that slider on the outside corner, then you are doing a great job, and you're probably going to be happier on a day-to-day basis when you can have that kind of outlook. And then you become an actual father, and you have sons and daughters that play. You have two sons. I'll just back it up with this: your favorite father-son activity, as the playing career starts to decline and it's time for something new. What do you look forward to doing with your boys?
Yeah, so the older boys, they're kind of on their own now, and they never really, they love sports, but they never really got fully invested, like I had hoped, for. But that's fine, right? They're great kids and they do their thing. And then the younger ones, and there's a big age gap between the older boys and the younger one. The younger one is fully invested, and he wants to be Tatis Jr. one day and Bellinger one day, and I love every bit of it. He wears his Padres shirt and his Dodger hat together, and I'm all for it. And so he loves going to games and playing baseball. So this summer we went to we went out to St. Louis for a game. We went to, Petco a couple times, went to Dodger Stadium a couple times, and obviously Anaheim. So going out to the stadium with him and watching him enjoy it. He loves getting foul balls. He loves the whole thing. You know what I mean? He loves the whole part of it, and it's been really enjoyment for me to be able to watch him be happy with that.
Awesome, man. Chopper, back to you, brother.
Yeah, I had the opportunity to, I had Sean Dunston as my partner when I was doing instant replay for the Giants, and a 19-year major league career. And just touching on like that decline when that starts, that's when you really get smarter, right? Like you start picking up little things, if I'm going to steal a base, you don't have to get the best jump when you're lightning fast, but all of a sudden now, if you're not quite as fast, maybe the pitcher gives it away, maybe his hand start before his heel, just little things like that, where as a good teammate and how you keep yourself on a team a lot of times in a big league clubhouse is, man, this guy is positive. Go ahead, coach. What do you got?
Yeah, no, it's and it speaks to that grinder mentality. Like you could just give in, or you could grind and try and find that extra step somewhere in there. And I think that comes from a good coach at an early age, looking through the right lens of building character and teaching you how to grind. I can't tell you how many times Dave Roberts said that word in our podcast with him: grinder, compete, grind. And yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I think more so than ever, there's a place for those grinders, those baseball players, to really shine, because it has gotten so home run eccentric, velocity, right? So the skill of it has kind of taken a back seat. So this is a great time for a real baseball player to get back in the game and shine, right? If I'm a spectator, a scout, a coach, whatever, and I look on the baseball field and I see one baseball player out there, he will stand out because he's doing all the right things that aren't being taught quite as much, or not maybe think perfect game isn't showing all the great baseball players, right? They're just showing the velocity and the pop times and the speed. But this is a time for the baseball players to shine, more so than ever, because we all aren't the biggest. And I probably hit my entire life, I don't know, 50 home runs in batting practice. And that's a lot of batting practice, right? That's a lot of batting practices in my life, and maybe 50 home runs. That just wasn't my gig, right? And so I didn't have that tool to stand out, but I could stand out as being a baseball player. And, it helped me stay in the big leagues. It helped me get to the big leagues on a fast track. I shot through the minor league system because I really didn't have much to learn on the baseball end of it. I was taught at a young age how to be a baseball player, cut off some relays, backups, all these things that I didn't have to go on the backfield and learn them in the minor leagues. And so this is a real time for all the coaches out there to really take those baseball players that are willing to put in that time and learn that and watch them excel.
That's a great point.
Go ahead, coach.
Yeah. Well, just the cyclical nature of baseball. And I'd never thought about through the lens of a scout. Like, they've been seeing home run after home run after home run after 100-mile-an-hour fastball. What's going to perk their interest these days? It is that stolen base, and it's that utility player that can lay down a bunt and play small ball if need be. Yeah, never thought about it like that. That's soundbite number one for me on this podcast. I'll be throwing that out all over Twitter.
The term that we like to use is it's showcase baseball now. And even at the big league level, we talk about it. It's showcase baseball. Guys throw 100, but they can't locate. And that's why you have the walk, the strikeout, or the home run as the three outcomes. It's, guys, there's a guy, Casey Sadler, who, look up Casey Sadler. I think he had like a 1.3 ERA last year, but he doesn't throw 100. So he struggles to find a job every year. It's crazy. Guy misses barrels rolling out of bed, and he can't find a consistent job. because it's not showcase baseball, but he's a baseball player. He's a pitcher, and he'll get you out many different ways. I love that. And that's important. Coaches, if you have fast guys, teach them how to bunt, like give them another tool. I have a righty who little guy, grinder, great athlete, and he's super fast and he hates bunting, but he pulls the ball consistently. So I'm like, hey, and I said, he's a righty. I'm like, hey, Tristan, show bunt your first at bat, just show it. And if it's a strike, go ahead and put it down and you're 1 for 1. If it's not, you're going to get the third baseman to move in, and it's going to open up, more angles for you to get hits. I think the adage is if the infield's in, your batting average goes up 100 points, right? So it's like, just give our kids more opportunities to be baseball players and be grinders. Go ahead, Coach.
Yeah. Can you be a pest? I think that, I mean, I used to pitch in high school, and the home run hitter, sure. But I knew there was a weak spot there, but a pest, like, somebody who might lay down a bunt or steal a couple bases, that brought me anxiety. And that's a big word. If you can throw that into the opposing pitcher, that's a big deal. And speed, that's anxious times for pitchers.
Yeah. The batter where, like me as a coach, like, hey, just throw this guy a fastball down and away, and just hope he hits the ball to second or at somebody. But I don't need you throwing 12 pitches, because this guy's not going to strike out and he's going to battle all your best pitches. That's the guy, if you're not the showcase baseball guy. But to AK's point, even the showcase baseball guy can learn some things to help him be a little bit more of a grinder.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
It's just not a hard thing. It just takes a little effort, right? Like, yes, you have all the tools, and that is great. Your parents provided you with all this great body and strength, and you owe it to them, to utilize it to the max potential. And that max potential is opening the door to a lot of other things, and it just takes a little bit of effort to be better, and those kids that put in that effort to be better, they're going to continue to play. And, success brings, joy and happiness and love of the game. And that will bring success, which brings those other things, so just takes a little bit of concentration and hard work. And like I said, I think it's just a great time to be a good baseball player. You can really shine.
Question I have for you, and this probably I don't know when you faced it, but you talked about kind of like going through that little bit of a decline that we all go through. I went through it at 26. But how did adversity or failure help you grow in your career as a player, as a man? Like, you can go any way you want to go with that.
Sure. My whole life, in every sport, pretty much, I was at the top of my game, top level, all the way through college, through the minor leagues. And then you get to the big leagues, and, it's not going to be like that anymore, so I would say, learning failure at that level for the first time in your life, and having to deal with it on a daily basis, but not you can't let it show, because you got to perform again every day. And you got to perform well, or you're going back to the minor leagues. So really learning failure kind of for the first time in my life on the field at that level was probably the biggest, what's the word I'm looking for? Learning experience of my life, and learning how to deal with it, because you can't let it show. You're on TV, there's fans in the stands, you got to be put in lineup tomorrow. So learning failure at the highest level was a big, big shell shock, a big, confidence questioning, what kind of confidence can you still have at the end of the day of getting your brains beat in all week long? Doesn't take long to go for 30 in the big leagues, right? A week, and that's, so learning the failure on the job was a huge part of my life, and taught me a lot about patience and bouncing back. And so try to use that experience now with my boys, as far as, don't let one bad grade thing kind of mount up on you. Just regroup and get going to the next one.
Yeah, I had that experience, and it happened to me in the Florida State League. So I was the conference player of the year, All-American, first full season. I led the league in hits and had a great attitude and was a great teammate. I get to the Florida State League and I hit 220, and I was a bad teammate. I had a bad attitude. I let my work ethic slide. And the belief for me is that failure gives you a true glimpse of your character, right? It's easy to be the toast of the town and, give the guys from Venezuela rides everywhere when you're the best player on the field. But when you start failing, now all of a sudden, how are you acting? And it's not like you're okay with failing, but like, can you still be a good teammate? Can you still control the controllables, your attitude, your effort, your preparation? So I totally agree with that. And that's something we got to teach our kids is like, hey, and that's that moment of like, can you get back in the moment? And sometimes it's just using a joke or something just to get them to laugh and realize, okay, it's not that bad. And love that. I totally agree. Coach Ballgame.
Awesome. It's good stuff. This is life-giving. This is kind of conversation for me. Last question for you. Thanks for coming on, Adam. And it's just been really, really great. I think, I don't want to narrow this to just youth coaches because I think this is a great podcast for many different personalities, but your advice to the youth coach out there, and it could be multifaceted, because I know it's apples and oranges when you go from T-ball to travel ball and blue jeans on a sandlot to a perfect game. But for me, it's the word listen. That's the one piece of advice that comes to mind at the top. Listen to your players, listen to each one, and then you can maybe meet them on their own playing field. What's your advice for me, for Chopper, for any youth coach out there in any sport?
Oh man, I James, first of all, I use a lot of your videos and your coaching ways. It's a great reminder for someone like me who has a tendency to forget the fun part of it is the true essence of what we're doing here, right? Especially for the younger kids. Because
Honored, man. Thank you.
We got to keep it fun for them. Otherwise, they're going home and don't want to come back, right? And we just want every kid to love baseball, right? We want everybody to go to Angel Stadium and buy a Trout jersey and a hat and just enjoy it. It's just kind of what baseball is all about. So really, for me, kind of watching you and then me kind of on the other end of the spectrum, real, competitive and wanting to win, but understanding there's a middle ground, and just kind of teaching these kids something every day, whether it's, yes, you see, this kid having a rough go at it and kind of lightening his day, or this kid needing to learn something baseball wise and teaching that to him that day. But we've all kind of touched on it about bringing something to the park every day, and it's different for every kid. They could be going through whatever, and kind of recognizing that. And we're all going through our own stuff, but really focusing on those kids and what we can do for them, not just today, but some kids were doing it today so they can play college ball. Some kids were doing it today so they're staying out of trouble, or they're just they need to be out here because it just is enjoyable for them. There's so many reasons, and just kind of acknowledging that and recognizing that is just a huge thing for a coach to be able to do. And it's great to be a coach. I love it. I was raised by one, and it's been fun for me.
I like that. I think the title of this one might be Middle Ground, because there is that middle ground that when we lose sight of that, we yell at umpires and we have to win that tournament that day, and we embarrass ourselves, and we teach our kids that mean behavior is okay. And then on the other side of it, if I'm just all fun all the time, then kids are going to be climbing the fence and thinking it's just okay to be disrespectful. So when a parent comes to my sandlot, I think they're probably surprised to see, oh, he's firm. Like he mandates that they sit in an epic team meeting pose and give uncomfortable eye contact for 12 seconds. And he gives kids timeouts when they're not behaving properly. So I think it's just a constant search for that middle ground. Whatever you may, if you're Joe Madden managing the Angels, or Dave Roberts with the Dodgers, there's a middle ground there of going about it. Same with travel ball, high school, and T-ball even. Just continuing that search for the middle ground. Chopper, anything to add on that note before we let him go?
Yeah, really important for our parents and our coaches to hear this message of, and we know this going in even college, pro ball, major leagues, if you don't have a love for the game, when it gets business-like, which it does in college and in the minor leagues and in the major leagues, if you don't have that love and that passion for this game to help you overcome those tough moments, you'll quit. Like, you just won't do it. It's just not worth it. So as coaches and parents, make sure that our kids fall in love with this game. And that does not mean that they can't try to get better every single day, but make sure they have that right mindset of, like we talk about it, coach, winning and learning, right? If you win the day, awesome. Did you win with respect and honor? And if you didn't come out ahead on that day, what'd you learn? And you can still grow from that. And it's just that mindset of every single day, I'm going to try to get a little bit better, but I love what I'm doing. And I love the grind. Fall in love with that grind of this game. And that should be our vibe and our goal as coaches and parents.
Awesome.
Yeah. One thing to touch on that as we close out here, the goal kind of gets lost, and I think, for me anyways, is how can we get these kids to college, whether it's playing baseball in college, or just they played through high school and had fun and stayed on the right track, and and some way towards college, and I heard I met with a dad the other day, and he just said, my kid's telling me the college is the baseball program is it's just a grind, and it's hard, and I'm like, yeah, he needs to just that's not going to work out for him, because it's not hard. Being on a college baseball team is fun. It's your fraternity. It's a great experience. It's a great experience, and hopefully he is able to still use that to get a nice career and get a college degree. But man, baseball is fun, and I always enjoyed it at every level, even as I was getting my brains beat in at the big league level.
Love that.
Awesome. Well, Adam, thank you so much for coming on. I look forward to seeing you again here in Orange County, and giving Bubba some uncomfortable eye contact.
Sure, I love it. See you guys soon.
Awesome.
Hey, thank you so much. Appreciate
right,
you. Have a great day. Thank you. Awesome.
Super cool. Just like I continue to have little nuggets that stick into my mind, and that middle ground thing, that's it.
Yeah.
That's how you, that's kind of how you can bunch all the different skill levels and talent levels into one basket. Is you might not be teaching a 6-year-old how to throw a changeup and dot the outside corner. So those things are different, but what is the same? Well, it's just trying to find that balance, coaching with balance, and keeping the priorities in line of building that character, teaching them to be a grinder and overcome adversity, and doing that by spreading positivity. Like, you're gonna overcome your sadness by being positive towards other teammates. So that was great. That was a great chat with another World Series champ.
Man, yeah, and for me, every once in a while, not often, but every once in a while, I have to have a conversation with the parent because we're a competitive club, right? But there's nothing wrong with that. It's finding that balance and that middle ground and that mindset of, like, we're competitive, but we're not competing to win. We're competing to get better every day on and off the field. We're competing to grow in character and to grow in our craft. And there's nothing wrong with that, and that's an important thing, like, for me to share, because, like I said, I've had a few parents that are like, you're competitive. We've seen you compete, how do you, what's the balance? And it's I want our kids to try to get better every single day and compete against their opponent with love and respect and grow in character. So
Mhm.
that's the vibe. And that's every one of our guests that we've had on here. Clearly, you don't make it to the major leagues without a high level of compete or holding yourself and your teammates to a high standard, right? Of like getting better every day and having fundamentals and good habits on and off the field. But at the same time, you don't stay up there if you lack character and if you
Yeah.
lack those skills to be a good person.
Circling back to pre Adam Kennedy, we were talking about parents, and we teased a topic of dealing with the unhappy parent, the parent that feels like their child was marginalized or not given enough playing time or just not given a fair shake. Have you had that experience? What's your tips for that coach out there that deals with that?
I've had them, and they're not easy, right? But the key is, first of all, you have to coach in a way where the parents know that you care about their kid, right? And that has to be first and foremost. And that's not given. Like, you earn that with who you are every single day at the practice field and how you talk to the kids and how you show them you care and how you communicate with the parents. Go ahead.
And each parent has a different radar for that, and you know, each parent sees it differently, and you know, just by looking at a kid, that equates to that coach cares. Other parents are different. They need more, or they need just something, a different language. So carry on.
Yeah. And so you have to have those those relationships. And if you have to have a conversation, if you know, like I said, we at one time we had 13 or 14 kids on our team. So you go into these tournaments, it's like, hey, Saturday, everyone's going to play. Sunday is, that's the championship Sunday. So like we're trying to compete on Sundays. So there may not be as much playing time. You have to have those conversations early and set the correct expectations, right? Now, with that said, even though I've done that, there's still been those phone calls and a few times, and that's okay. And it's one of those things where you have to have empathy and you have to listen and you have to hear the parent, right? And sometimes it ends up like, I have one kid who is really improving. He's awesome. He's on a different club now. Love him. But his parent was like, hey, I want him to stay, even though he's not playing, because I love your practices. And my wife does speed and power. And like, I feel like he's getting better. And he was. But at some point I had to tell dad, like, hey, he needs playing time and I can't give that to him. So like, you have to find another way to get him the game experience and, getting those at bats against a real opponent in a real setting with real pressure. Right. So, and I've had other moments with a parent where same deal, they were concerned about where their kid fit in and like, man, this kid is in the starting lineup now, stud. He's grinded and worked hard and didn't quit. And I'm so proud of the fact that he just took a tough situation and he kept working and he kept going and he didn't give up. And holy cow, that gives him that confidence. And I mean, gives me the chills to think about it. Right. But you got to be open and listen to parents and have conversations with them and just be honest and open before those situations happen. And then listen to them with their concerns. Now, I'm not perfect. I mean, there's parents out there that, they left my club and you wish them the best and you try to love on them as best you can. But like, we're going to mess up as coaches, try to learn from it and try to make sure it doesn't happen again with the next parent.
And communicate that with your assistant coaches. Do your best to make sure each parent knows you care about their kid. And it is a very difficult job. And when it happens in my group of coaches, they're sweating and they're like, man, that was tough work. And it's like, yeah, this is the job. As much fun as it is and as life-giving as it is, there are some serious challenges as far as managing different personalities. And hey, I like that. Just come to a common goal of we care about your child and we want them coming back tomorrow because we love them and we know they're going to learn something from being here. So awesome. I had an extra thing to get to, but I think we'll tease it. We'll save it again for next week.
Okay.
I've got some good baseball trivia because going down Adam Kennedy's list of trivia, records and hitting 3 bombs in a game. I had some trivia, so we'll tease that for next week. And hey, we'll see if we can find us a good guest by next Tuesday. But for all of you out there that are listening and commenting on the social medias and rating the podcast. Keep getting the word out. We love doing this. We'll keep the good conversations coming. So tell your friends about it.
Yeah. One more thing that I had, my little 7-year-old Boaz had a football tournament this last weekend. I've never been to a flag football tournament. Pretty cool. Yeah, pretty cool. But like and his coaches are unbelievable. They're great. But there was a moment in that situation where a tough play or a call didn't go the right way. And all of a sudden, like now I'm just a parent. So I'm just on the sideline just watching. But this feeling of like, oh no, this isn't going our way, it like permeated the entire sideline. And I was like, we're the best team. We're going to be fine. How are we going to respond? Like all these moments of like, oh my gosh. So like coaches, create that habit, create that vibe of how are we going to respond? How are we going to respond? It doesn't matter what happens to us. Get back in the moment and go find a way, compete, breathe, have fun. It's pretty cool. And like I say, I'm not saying that these coaches are amazing. They're unbelievable. But if we can keep spreading that message as coaches of responding and being resilient and genuinely don't care about a bad call or a dropped pass or a strikeout or a walk or an error, how are we going to respond? This is exciting. This is going to be crazy if we can overcome this. Let's go. Let's try. Pretty cool. And don't forget, everybody, random act of kindness every day.
I used it last night. I used it last night with my group, Rake. Random act of kindness every day. And they all kind of perked up. And they're like, oh, I think I have an idea for that. So I stole that one.
Good. Love it. Use it. Everyone steal that one. Use it. It's important.
Find the middle ground out there, coaches, and find your best Buck Showalter. When the high leverage is on, just get out there and say, hey, this is what's going to happen. Ground ball to third, double play, and we're going to win. Bang. Matter of fact. And if it doesn't happen that way, it's not the end of the world.
That's right.
It's good.
Love it. Have a great week. Appreciate you.
Attaboy.
Attaboy.